All right, here we are. Yes. Hi, Mariah.
Hello.
Right. I am blessed today. I have been following Mariah for a year. We seem to be on a very parallel path.
For
Um,
sure.
it seems like we kind of got into this very shortly around the same time. I've been about a year now raw food, and it's been about a year that I kind of bumped into Mariah online, who's into raw food as well too. And we had the same background in terms of being inspired by the same Dr. Arnold Ehret. And that's the book that I read, The Mucus Diet, that really just massively changed my path. Before I read that book, I had got into juicing, trying to alkalize my body, trying to alkalize my life because I was filled with a lot of pain in my body. And there was a lot of unhappiness and sleeplessness and digestive issues in my life as well too. And so I was alkalizing my body to try to heal that. And then I came across Dr. Arnold Ehret just a little over a year ago now, maybe 14, 15 months ago. And I've been completely raw food pretty much for the last year and following Mariah for just a little over a year. And she's always helping people create change in their life. So I really wanted to reach out with and have an opportunity to speak with her. I know it's going to be really educational and inspiring for me. So hopefully it's inspiring for everybody else here. Mariah, would you please tell us a little bit about how you got into this and just your background and why you're doing this and what it's all about for you?
Oh, wow. Well, where to start? I'll start with my life in the city. I began becoming a little more conscious, started growing in our backyard there, where it was houses everywhere. This is Main Street, Vancouver. And we had ripped up our backyard lawn and planted a garden. And after you garden for a while, you just become, you start eating your own foods, which is huge because in the city, everybody lives out of the grocery store. So we decided to move to the country because we wanted to expand the garden and we wanted to become a little more self-sufficient. We wanted to eat our own, we wanted to produce our own foods. At that time, I was still eating meat. I was eating dairy. I was eating the standard diet. I just wanted to improve that diet. So we moved to the Okanagan, BC. If anyone knows it, it's a fruit growing country. At this point, we bought a 7-acre farm and we started doing our own meats and selling them as well, our own cheese from our own raw milk. We had our own eggs, our own vegetables. We had a few fruit trees. We had every type of animal you could think of, from alpacas to rabbits to, we were doing everything at that time we thought was right. All organic growing, all organic farming, eating our own foods from the land. In fact, everything came from the land except for our grains where
That's a really big one, I think, Mariah. I think a lot of people, myself included, for many years were stuck on the fact that I was kind of doing organic meats and free range and stuff like that, and thinking that was kind of a solution to health, was trying to just eating organic meats. I think that's a big one to talk about.
Yeah, well, at that point, I was, I guess I was around 30, 32, 33, and I had never felt worse in my life. I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with terrible thoughts. I had pain in my body. I was dealing with anxiety, skin issues, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, we were doing everything right. And it wasn't until I went to a seed exchange, and this lady, she was really nice. She came up and she kind of took a look at me and the family, and she said, you're all dealing with sickness and candida issues. And she suggested this book called The Detox Miracle Source Book by Dr. Young. So we picked that up right after the seed exchange, read the whole book, and I can't remember whether that book suggests meat or not, but it did suggest to alkaline the body and to get rid of acidic foods such as eggs and things like that. So we immediately cut out eggs from our diet, meat and milk, and things started turning around a bit. things started to slowly improve. And at that point, it was huge because we were living on a 7-acre farm trying to make a living from dealing with animal products, basically.
Wow.
So we ended up finding homes for all of our animals, good homes, not where they were going to get killed. We ended up underselling the farm just to leave it all behind, because it never
Wow.
felt right what we were doing.
Wow.
I mean, when I was living there, I was always wondering, is it really this hard to live and to eat? Is life meant to be this, difficult, where you have to milk a cow every day? You need to, preserve your meats. Like, it just didn't make sense. It just didn't. And so we ended up moving to an orchard. It was a friend's fruit orchard, and just becoming caretakers and living in a little trailer. And this is where I discovered Arnold Ehret's book. It was up in the attic on that property. It was another friend who was living in her teepee down by the river. She had the book.
Wow.
And so I picked it up and I started looking at it, and it looked intriguing. And so I started walking down the stairs. This moment is very strange. And my father, who had read his book a long time ago, and when he was 19, he actually adopted a fruit diet because of Ehret's work. And he moved to Hawaii, and he fasted, and he lived on fruits for quite a while. But he had a tough time with society, and his family wanted to throw him in an insane asylum. So he ended up doing it for a while, but then forgetting about it. So when he saw me walking down the stairs, and he never visited that often, and he lives 2 hours away, he saw me walking down the stairs with that book. He tried to deter me from reading it. He said, "Oh, that book kind of bugs me, that guy." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Just let me know what you think of it." So I read it within 2 days.
Yeah, that's how I read it too.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And I started immediately. Yeah, I did a 5-day fast right away.
I did a 3-day fast right away.
Nice. And so when I called my father back, I said, "That's the most important book I have ever read in my entire life."
I thought that is a great read. You've got to read that book. And I make sure that anyone that starts up in my fitness program gets a digital copy of that book. It's a part of the 6 Weeks to Success. So everyone that joins my program gets a digital copy of that book. So if you're watching this and you're wondering about that book, you will be getting a copy if you're involved in this program.
That's a great idea. Good for you.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I may implement.
What your dad said there about society, I think that's one of the hugest things, is that because society is so backwards really from these ideas, they just totally make you feel so uncomfortable for sharing these ideas. So actually, when I meet with a customer, I don't really share this stuff right up front. I don't really share these ideas right up front. I usually let them come in, falling into like just whatever they're most comfortable with, and then ask them to track their food. And then after they track their food, then I respond with their first comments on how they should make changes. Because I find if I start off with them right off the bat with, "Oh, you've got to do this, oh, you've got to do that," that they just look at me like I'm crazy. So
you have a sound approach. Yeah, that's what I do as well.
You develop that relationship first before you can even start talking about these things.
And see where they're at, because everybody starts from a different point in their life. So.
Exactly. We're all in different places. We've all got different attachments to our foods and our certain favorite foods, right?
Yes. So basically, in a nutshell, after that, we ended up finding a little place, which was in a town called Westbridge. It's very rural. It's where I am now, going on solar, living on a smaller plot of land because there are no more animals except for our pets. And so we're living, in a little trailer there, and growing our own foods, but a lot of them I don't even eat. I actually just grow them to give away. A lot of people still do eat carrots and things, so but,
so you're just basically eating fruit?
Basically, yes. I mean, the odd time I'll have a salad, Or if I go to the city once every 2 months, I'll go to a raw vegan restaurant, but I always
Yeah.
pay for it. So
Yeah.
literally the nuts, they get you. So
If I
very high.
eat vegetables on the weekend, sometimes with my family, uh, if it sneaks in once during the week, a salad or vegetables. If I have a family dinner, like some rice or something, maybe might sneak in there. But for the most part, it's just raw food, and really, it's actually come right down to just very much fruits, and a lot of the time, it's only just melons or just grapes.
Yeah, and you can live that way. It's the small habits you engage in daily, those consistent habits, but the odd time you have a meal or, and that's where I'm at. I mean, it may change, but for now I'm on fruits. And if I want to have a meal, I usually end up fasting for a day if I eat a big meal now. And then I start with fruits again, just for the reset. Not
Yeah.
because it's a rule, it's just I feel like it. If I eat a big meal, I'm just not hungry for a day or two. So
So can you address, like, everyone talking about the need for protein and kind of settle people down? How do you settle people down about protein, and they need vitamins and they need this and they can't live on fruit? How do you settle those ideas with people?
well, just by educating and explaining things. And I feel I have a pretty good way of explaining things in simplistic ways where people can understand, because it is pretty simple. I mean, proteins are complex foods. They're too they're too complex for our bodies to digest. What we need is amino acids. That animal you're eating ate amino acids to develop to make that protein. So it's a little crazy to think we should go and kill an animal to get that protein that the animal ate the amino acids to create. They're just too complex for our bodies. We need simple structures, simple sugars, simple amino acids. So basically, I explain that it is the proteins. We've been taught to eat high protein foods, but it's actually, look around, everybody's sick. So why? It's the high protein foods. It's simple. A lot of people can't grasp it, and that's okay. I mean, they're not meant to wake up in this lifetime, but the people who can grasp it, they can get well, and that's where we come in to help them get well. So.
Exactly. But you know what? Why is it, do you think, that everyone's stuck on protein? Why is it that this keeps on going?
This program, I believe that it's this program that's been created by the meat and dairy industry and the industries that stand to profit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's profiting the big conglomerates, right? The big food companies
Yeah.
that are.
I mean, high protein foods are literally destroying our kidneys. And from there, it's a domino effect. I mean, if the kidneys aren't functioning properly, well,
And this is what I
out.
find. This is what I find with most people, and myself included, was that my kidneys weren't functioning properly. And it actually, I found, is that it took 10 months for my kidneys to really start functioning fully. And I recognized the physical pain that I was having in my kidneys actually healing after about 10 months. And then after that healed and that pain went away, I really felt like my energy and my sleep went down, my need for sleep went down, my energy boosted, and my mind, my clarity went up significantly. So often it's a blockage that's stopping people from losing. It's the kidney blockage, congestion, it's liver congestion, it's colon congestion, it's lymphatic congestion. All of these things.
Yeah, and the damaged adrenals that sit on top of the kidneys create these anxieties and these deficiencies. And so we just need to heal the root cause through proper diet and eliminating the foods that cause our issues. It's fairly simple. It's just the mind needs to get on board. The body's ready anytime. And I was going to speak about that kidney pain just so people know. It's this dull ache in your lower back, and it's this kind of pain that you just can't get rid of, and it comes and it goes. And I see it with so many people, and myself included. And
Yes.
once it heals, it's gone. But
Yeah.
it's this kind of pain you just can't quite, get rid of. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
And it acts up and it goes down, and it acts up
Yeah.
and it goes down. Yeah. So it's kind of a really mysterious pain that sometimes you might relate it to picking something up, or you think you heard it golfing, or you heard it during your workout, or you
Yeah.
heard it, doing something on the weekend. In reality, it's just acidosis inside of that kidney, or some sort of congestion inside of that kidney.
Yeah, it's a classic pain, lower back pain.
So, Mariah,
Nice.
what's your job now? What are you doing for people?
Well, my work online, and I get a few clients in person, but mostly online. So what I do is I approach it one of two ways. If somebody wants to get an iridology reading, then I can do a health analysis based on that reading and the symptoms and results I see from that reading. So with the health analysis,
Before you go a little bit further with that, could you just talk a little bit about iridology? My wife is studying to be an iridologist right now. She's just doing that as well too. Could you share a little bit about iridology? What is that, and how does it relate, and how does it help, and how does it give you information?
Well, it's an amazing science. It dates back to the early 17 or 1800s. It's quite interesting how it came about. I won't get into that right now, but I will quickly. It was a guy who.
Yes. Share. I think it's important for people to realize where this came from and how it came about.
Well, he was in his yard. I can't remember his name right now, and he was attacked, I believe, by an owl. And so this owl came down on him, and he wrestled with the owl, and he broke the owl's leg. And he noticed after this happened, quite some time after, because he, had the owl at his place and he was kind of nurturing it back to health, that a big black line appeared in his eye where after his leg had been broken.
Yes. Now was it Dr. Jensen? Was it Dr. Jensen that did that?
Well, Dr. Jensen, it wasn't him. This is early 1700s, but
he studied that work.
Dr. Jensen. Right. I work off of his charts, his iridology charts.
Excellent. Okay.
He was a big pioneer in the field, so a lot of people have built upon it since then from their observations, and it's quite an amazing science, though, because I guess it's the nerve endings in the iris that correlate to different parts of the body, different tissues and organs and whatnot. And so, for example, like the top of the iris is the head area, and you can see generally if there's damage or if there's issues going on in the head area. And so it's quite an amazing, there's so much to talk about with it. I don't even know where to begin. But
well, basically, it's that there's a relationship between every single part of the body and in the eye, and that, so like you said, the upper part of the eye signifies the mind or the head. And so if you've got congestion in your head, which could lead to anxiety or depression or anger or frustration, or mood disorders of any kind, that could be seen by looking into the eye.
Yeah, exactly. And so after doing a reading, and you can see generally where a person's issues lie, which organs and glands are compromised, what symptoms they experience, then I can go ahead and do a health analysis based on that and show them what systems in their bodies are down, why, and how to target those organs and glands with dietary protocol, and I use herbs as well. I don't always make them mandatory, because I only want somebody to be taking herbs if they're drawn to them and they feel comfortable with them, because I have seen people heal without them and people heal with them, and everybody's different. And so I include a herbal protocol, but I always say it's not mandatory. It depends on how you feel about them.
So I've experimented with a lot of different herbs, and I use them on and off, and specifically I really use ginger and turmeric all the time, like dandelion root, milk thistle, peppermint, I use those kind of staple carbon, what's that? Activated carbon.
Oh, charcoal,
Yeah,
activated charcoal.
charcoal,
Yeah.
sorry, right. So I do use those pretty frequently. But the herbs, can you expand a little bit on what the herbs can do?
Well, herbs can help boost the detoxification process. Or if you are one that is not wanting to get onto a really good dietary regime yet, or you're transitioning over to fruits and raw herbs, they can really help when you're still eating a diet that isn't optimal, to target specific tissues and organs and glands in the body, and they help kind of regenerate. And herbology has been around for centuries, and it's amazing. I feel herbs are here for us. I mean, I learned from a herbologist a long time ago that you can go to somebody's house, look around in their yard, and the herbs that could actually help them are growing right there. And ever since, that's always stuck with me. And when I go to people's places, I'm always looking at the herbs that grow around their property. And I'm always looking at them, and I can tell a lot by looking at somebody, just by looking at their eyes and whether they have weak or brittle nails, or what type of issues they have within.
Or their
And
energy, energy that they're kind of emitting, the words that they're saying, the things that they're saying, the things that they're talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of time the herbs growing in their yard, like there'll be abundance of St. John's wort, and you can see that they're dealing with some depression and they're a little down, and it's true. I mean, I don't know, every time.
So your healing protocol is basically a fruit diet?
Well, not necessarily. I also big on the transition diet.
Excellent.
I mean, if somebody's just coming off of meat, cheese, things like that, I always suggest a transition diet that's going to include it's going to include fruits, raw vegetables, cooked vegetables, like just lightly steamed vegetables, baked squash, big salads, and if they have to, we'll go to a little quinoa maybe, or some roasted nuts and things like that, and seeds, just for better digestibility, with the intention to leave behind, the high protein foods and just slowly work your way into more raw foods. I always suggest to start the day with juicy fruits if possible. If somebody's highly encumbered and dealing with pancreas issues, then we start with green drinks and, maybe some steamed vegetables to get them going. But, you just sort of, each individual's different. They're willing to do different things. They have different levels of willpower, and, so it's all based on individuals. So.
But basically it's live, raw, plant-based nutrition. Yes. That's the grassroots of healing.
Yeah, so that's what the transition diet is, with the intention to get to raw foods, to get to the fruits, to get to the raw foods, because if you want to heal any health issues, there's only a couple ways to go about it, as you know. It's either sort of a long-term raw fruit diet combined with intermittent fasting, or to get into the fasting, but a bit longer fasts if you're not going to go to the raw foods. I mean, you do see the people can heal if they're on, say, a mucusless diet, but they're committing to longer fasts. So however you want to go about it, basically the fruit level, though, there's nothing that can really replace the power of fruits. They're hydrating, they're astringent, they're cleansing, they break up all these mucus and acids in your head and your whole body. They're just amazing. So fruit is where we want to encourage people to move towards, but it's the fruit, it's the raw foods, it's mucusless foods, it's low acidic foods, it's alkalizing foods, and as you mentioned, pardon me? Low protein.
Low protein, staying away from the protein. And then what you mentioned there was the fasts, and you talked about a little bit the extension of that fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it just depends on where you're at. I mean, I believe fasting should be worked up to, and nobody should do what I did when I first came off of meat and dairy and did a 5-day fast, and boy, was I tired. And
yeah, we were obsessed though, right? We were obsessed with the pain that we were having, and we wanted, and we were looking for these answers. And as soon as we got it, we're like, yes, here it is. And we really wanted to go for it, right? So if people are motivated and inspired, I think they should follow if they're inspired. But if this is like something they stumbled across, they've fallen into my program, I just try to start them with, listen, 12 to 14 hours of fast a day. You've got to do that as a mandatory minimum. And I try to say, listen, can you get to 15 or 16 hours? If you can, well, can you get to 16 or 18 hours? If it takes us a few months to get there, that's okay. We'll just slowly try to build up that fast time. And as much as we can, if we can start off with that raw food breakfast, and we can go to that fruit only breakfast, and then we go to fruit at breakfast and lunch, and then keep your cooked meal at dinner time, I tell people. And slowly.
Great advice.
And you know what, a lot of the times people are getting in my program for the exercise and the weight loss. And then, you know, so I don't really usually come back. They're not really coming to me for detoxification with their first thought intention. So I really try to move them towards that slowly as I educate them, as they realize that all of the problems that they have, all of the symptoms that they have are really because of their toxicity. And if they could just start to detoxify, then actually all of these problems will go away.
I know, and it's so simple, but yet we've been programmed that each separate symptom that one experiences is a separate disease in itself, which confuses people when you tell them how simple it is, because you're not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
But we do recognize that the universal issues is toxicity within, its obstructions, and you need to move those out. And how do you do that? A few ways, and mainly fruits and raw foods, and giving the body a digestive rest.
Yes, simple. So simple.
Very
exactly.
simple. Yeah.
And now could you talk a little bit about what do you say to people about medications? Like, this is a big one. Like, I want to tell people you've got to get off of those medications, but you know, we're not doctors.
Right. So
you know, how do you do? Like, how do you manage it? How do you manage it?
Well, most of the people I do work with are on medications. So I, first of all, do tell them I'm not a doctor, but in my opinion, and from what I know and what has worked for others, is to slowly titrate away from their medications. So if they're taking, say, anxiety pills every day, I say, when you're ready, try and take them every second day.
Awesome.
And on that second day, instead, you can find a herbal version, you know, because people are so used to taking things that they almost need to replace it. And that's where herbs come in, at least.
Awesome.
So we just work slowly away from it. Same with, say, coffee, for example. That's a stimulant, a poison for the body, but it's highly addictive, and people rely on it to keep them awake. I mean, their adrenals are shot and they need that coffee, but I have coffee substitutes, say dandelion root tea with molasses. That's an amazing coffee substitute.
Awesome.
Or they can water it down a little more every day until they leave coffee behind entirely. I mean, it can't happen overnight for everyone. It can for some, and that's pretty amazing, like you and I.
The warriors.
Yeah. Just overnight, I just dropped my 4 scrambled eggs every day. I dropped my everything. Just started eating big salads, and a lot of them. Huge salads.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mariah, how do people get a hold of you? Like, if they wanted to talk about getting some assistance with their diet, or just discussing the process, or herbs, or how do they get a hold of you?
I'm a big presence on Facebook. I'm on there daily, and I try and do a post every day. So a lot of people just get a hold of me through private message. I also have a website, which I'm terrible at keeping up with, but it's still there. And it's Mariah without the H, because I go by Mariah or Maria. It's a long story. So it's Mariah at applediaries.com. And I'm on Instagram as well, under Mariah, so that's Maria with an H, .heal.thy.self.
Let's
Heal
make sure
thyself.
that we get all of those, and we'll make sure that I put them in the post with this so that all of the links
Sure.
are there so that people can get a hold of you if they want to discuss any of this or all of this, because
Yeah.
I think it's really important that people hear, you know, a similar message. You're out in BC. I'm here in Ontario.
Nice.
How long ago did you find Eric's book?
That must have been about, let's see, I did 2 years mucusless diet. It was about 3.5 years, 3.5 years ago.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
quite a bit longer than me. Quite a bit longer than me.
Yeah, so I did a long transition diet. I did 2 years before I transitioned over to fruits. I wanted to make sure I was good and ready. I knew where I was going to go,
It
and
took
I
me
needed to
7 months
eat for a
to get
while.
over. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need to get it out of your system, and that's why I liked the transition diet, because I just, got all the eating out of my system. Like, so now I'm a lot calmer, and I don't need big meals anymore. But I sure did for those 2 years. I sure did.
Yes, yes. It takes a while to make this transition. It doesn't
Hmm.
happen overnight, but as you start moving towards more raw food, more plant-based nutrition, more fruits, your
Yeah.
body heals and the appetite goes down, and slowly your fasts lengthen and it becomes a lot easier as the kidneys get back on track, the adrenals are working again, energy
Yeah.
jumps up,
And your
congestion
body will
goes away.
start craving what's serving it. So these foods, raw foods and fruits, are healing your body. And at first they don't appeal to many people, but as they heal and detoxify, they become more appealing, and you start craving the foods that are really doing the work for you, and helping you, heal your internal issues. So
And toxicity, that's a word that we talk about a lot. And I just want to clarify, when we say toxicity, we're talking about anything that's inside of the body that's not really supposed to be in there. And
yeah.
that's basically chemicals. It could be parasites. It could be fungus. Definitely our fecal matter that's stuck in our body.
The mucus,
Mucus, hardened mucus, which is the plaque.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's very simple. It just takes a lot of patience and time, and really understanding of where you're going. So I try and educate my clients so they understand themselves. They need to know and be able to explain it to other people around them, because if they're just listening to you and thinking you're going to heal them, it doesn't work. But if they gain an understanding and they learn that this is their journey, they need to heal themselves, and they're going to have to explain it to all their family and friends in a manner that they're going to understand, so they don't try to throw them in an insane asylum like they did with my father back when he was 19.
So it's really
Adopting
important.
a diet.
That's a really important message, that they have to understand the process themselves.
Yes.
As long as we are divided and stuck on the old mainstream approach, and not embrace the new idea and the correct idea for healing, we can't heal ourselves yet. We have to have a full understanding. And as long as we stay divided, we're never going to be able to get there.
Exactly.
That's an important one.
Yeah.
I've got
Very
customers that are still like, I'm eating the fruit and I'm not getting there, but they're still stuck one foot in the old mainstream approach, and they don't have the whole thing pulled together yet.
Yeah, and they need to realize it's going to take time. I mean, a good, commit to a year once you get to the fruit level at least. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, don't say whether you're going to continue on fruits forever or whether you're not, because things change. So you may not feel like you want to at this point, but I guarantee once you get into the fruits, something about them, you'll just stick with them after a while. So.
And it really depends on your how congested your kidneys are, and how congested your
Mm-hmm.
liver is, and how bad your adrenals are. And we got to heal those things before your body's going to be feeling 100%. And it also depends if you're going to try to do those extended fasts. Are you going to do a 3-day fast? Are you going to do a 5-day fast? Are you going to do a water-only fast? If you're doing things like that, you can speed things up a lot. But if you're not willing to push yourself a little bit outside of the comfort zone and be hungry a little bit and stand up to hunger a little bit, you're going to have to step up to it. But when you face it, it goes away.
Oh, and it's so empowering, and you just feel so much. I feel so free, you know, if I can't eat, or if I'm on a road trip or in a stressful situation, I don't have to take a flight. I don't have to pack anything. I don't have to do anything. I can just fast for a while until the time's right again, you know, or if I need food on the road, you know, you can just easily grab a melon and you're done. You don't need to cook. You don't need to
Some
clean.
grapes, some
You can rub it on your
oranges.
skin.
It's simple. It's a simple life, and we're making it way too complicated.
Exactly, and that's the way it should be. And why, when I was on the farm, wondering why is it so difficult to just eat every day? You know, so much work involved. I was working myself to the bone.
Awesome. You know what, Mariah? Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I know my clients will really benefit from the information that you've shared, and I hope some of them will reach out to you to get some greater understanding of the entire process and some help with their.
Great. No, it's been fun. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
having me.
welcome. We'll keep in
All right.
touch.
You too.
Talk again.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.